Hi guys, Bob for Bob's Movie Review here, and today I'm bringing you another top 10 countdown video. If you enjoy the video, please leave it a like rating. So I got a request for my top 5 favorite movies or whatever. I decided to expand it to my top 10. I do feel like it's important to say that this was a really hard list to make, and if I were to do it again today, it might be slightly different. I had a lot of I condensed it down to about like 25 movies, and then from there, it's really hard to actually pick your favorites. Now this isn't like the movies that I think are the best. Like there's lots of movies that I would rate higher than these, but these are movies that throughout the years I've watched over and over many times. Some of them I haven't seen in a while though, and I'm just realizing that. But these are like movies that I feel like I can watch over and over, and I really enjoy them. And so, while again, I don't feel they're the best movies, they are my personal favorites. So I'd love to hear your guys' personal favorites down in the comment section below. Please don't judge my favorites. It's just the movies I like. And like I said, if there's like a movie you think that should be on the list and it's not, it could change from day to day. And again, one last time, these aren't, I don't think, the best movies ever made. They're just my favorites. So we're going to start at number 10. We got a horror at number 10, House on Haunted Hill. When did this one release? This is one of my older DVDs I have in the old snap cases. If you guys are old enough to remember these. I don't know. I think just certain studios released these weird cardboard plastic hybrid cases. But this is a remake of the old Vincent Price House on Haunted Hill. This one followed a group of people who were lured to this mansion with the promise of getting money, and it's haunted, to say the least. And they think it's a game, and it's supposed to be a game, but then it turns real. One thing I really liked about this is I always thought this one was really suspenseful. They have that amusement park at the beginning, and I was like, the first time I watched this, I was just like, oh my god, no. I had those kind of moments when I watched this. Obviously, a second viewing, you kind of already know what's going to happen and you expect that stuff, but I really liked the way they made it, and I thought it was a fun movie. Again, I haven't watched this in forever, so if I was to watch it now, I might think it was cheesy, but I have seen this one probably at least 20 times. So House on Haunted Hill is number 10. Now, you guys are going to see what kind of movies I like, because the majority of this stack is all comedy. So next up, we have American Pie at number 9. This is the original American Pie. This movie launched so many people's careers. I can't remember, was this the first thing Tara Reid was in? Jason Biggs, Shannon Elizabeth, who was probably at her hottest in this movie, really. Allison Hannigan, Eugene Levy. He was in stuff before this, though. Actually, he's in more than one movie on this list. And a couple of the other people, Seann William Scott, and a couple of the other people did go on to star in more things, but those people kind of really blew up after this movie. It's a comedy about a bunch of, I think they're all seniors in high school, and, they're kind of nerdy and not popular. And all the guys make this pact to lose their virginity by prom or on prom night. And it's like, obviously it's mostly out of their control. I think the pact was mainly that they would try to help each other as much as they could and do whatever they could to help the other one get in with the ladies. Shannon Elizabeth is the foreign exchange student. And then some of them are girlfriends and whatnot. And it's kind of just like a coming-of-age, raunchy comedy that I've always found super hilarious. And it spawned 3 sequels. I kind of like all of them. They had the offshoot ones that weren't as good, that didn't star the original cast. But I thought the American Pie franchise was pretty good, and I definitely enjoyed this one. It's really a fun comedy. So at number 8, 10, 9, 8, we have Shriek, if you know what I did last Friday the 13th, right? Yeah. This is a parody, and they used to have these, I remember at Walmart, they had the like $5 DVD bin, and this was always in there, and I would never get it, and I was just like, you know what, maybe I'll try and check it out. Stars Coolio, because he's an actor, If you guys don't know who Coolio is, he did that song "Gangster's Paradise." So he was a rapper. Shirley Jones, Tiffany Amber Thiessen, Tom Arnold. I don't remember if any of the other people. I don't think any other people are really well known. But Tiffany Amber Thiessen, she was Kelly on Saved by the Bell, which many of you probably don't even know what that is. And she's been in a bunch of movies. And there was another TV show where they were like undercover cops or something. I don't think it lasted very long. She looks super hot in this one. But this is a parody on just horror movies in general. It kind of follows Scream, I Know What You Did Last Summer. But the thing that I really like about this, and they really, ever since I think, and a lot of people will kind of disagree or agree, since Scary Movie 2, there haven't been any good parodies released. Like, they just put in the most random pop culture references that make no sense and are no funny, and they just try to make them overly vulgar and overly sexual, and they just kind of hope that, well, if there's some nudity, maybe you'll watch it. But I mean, I don't think this day and age that people necessarily need to watch a terrible movie to see nudity. You know what I mean? It might have been different 20 years ago or whatever, but this one, it just has so much just subtle humor. I mean, it's almost like the movie, you just watch it, and if you're not looking, you're not seeing the jokes. Like, let's just say, for instance, they're walking down the hall and they're showing all the club doors. There's all these clubs, and then they have a door that has an actual club on it, which is like that old thing you put in the car to keep people from stealing it, and it's called the Club. And one of my favorite things that I never noticed for the longest time, they're all sitting down for lunch, and the one kid's drinking a Jack Daniel's juice box. Now, if you wouldn't look at the juice box, you wouldn't even notice there was a joke there, And it's just a lot of subtle things like that. And I think this is one of the best parodies really ever made. I love this movie. I watch it at least once a year. Obviously, I don't find it as funny anymore, but I think it's just a really funny movie. And it's kind of funny too, because all the characters, they had this situation similar to I Know What You Did Last Summer, and they're getting these notes, but all the notes are different. It's like, I know what you did last period, I know what you did last Hanukkah, I know what you did last whatever, and they all remember it different. Like the one stupid jock guy, when he's remembering it, he's like wearing a Magnum or Miami Vice suit, and he's smoking a pipe, and he's like, seems jean splicing's all the rage these days. No, he wasn't wearing the suit. He was wearing, sorry, I messed that up. He was wearing like a whatever. He was wearing different clothes, and then they don't even have him on here. The kind of dorky guy that none of the girls want. He was wearing the Miami Vice suit, and he had like that little pencil beard thing going on, and all the girls were on him and stuff. It's just funny like that. And then they all had something they were supposed to do that they didn't do, and it's a really fun movie. Also, it has Tom Arnold. He's like the cop. He plays Deputy Dowie. Obviously a Scream parody. But it's a fun movie, guys. If you haven't seen this, I mean, I'm sure you can find it cheap. I would definitely check this one out if you like parodies. That's a good one right there. All right, number 7. I put the remake of Gone in 60 Seconds. If you guys didn't know, this one is a remake. There was one put out in 74 or so. I don't know if it says on here. No. But this one stars Nicolas Cage and Angelina Jolie. I'm just realizing that these movies star like the actresses at their hottest. Jolie was super hot in this one, but I guess you could argue maybe Tomb Raider. But she had that weird nappy dreadlock, I don't even know what you'd call it, haircut through most of it. So in this one, Nicolas Cage is trying to save his brother who agreed to steal these cars, and then he didn't produce them, and he's an ex-car thief, and he has to steal, 100 cars in one night or something to pull this thing off and not get caught. Angelina Jolie is like his ex-girlfriend, and she's going to help, and they have a whole team of people. This also has Giovanni Ribisi, and I'm trying to think of that, Robert Duvall. There's another guy too that I can't think of his name. Anyways, it's a really fun car movie. The acting on this is pretty cheesy. The lines are pretty cheesy. But it's just a fun movie. They go to steal all these cars, and, they're kind of joking around. And This is much better than the original. If you watch the original, it's like no dialogue and like a 60-minute car chase, and the movie's like an hour and a half, something like that, which is fun. I like to watch it, but it's nowhere near as good of a movie as this, even though this one isn't, anywhere great. But I do love it. It's one of my favorite car movies, fun watch, and they have that 67 Mustang that they have to go for at the end, and I don't know. It's supposed to be a GT500, but the problem with that is it's like completely custom. It's nothing like an actual GT500. In fact, they even started cloning it, Eleanor's, because that's what they call it in the movie. And a lot of people after that, they just fell in love with the 67 GT500. But even in the movie, I think they had one or two, because they had like 12 cars, were actual GT500s. The problem is, I mean, if you're going to modify it, you really take away the value. So they just took GTs and modified them, that makes more sense. So, I mean, you just love the GT then, is what you don't realize. So that's definitely a fun one. I definitely like that one. Probably Nicolas Cage's better movies. National Treasure, I like that the first time, but that movie's so unrewatchable. Once you know what's going to happen, it's pretty terrible. I can't think of anything I like better than this with Nicolas Cage. All right, number 6. We have, I haven't even opened this one yet, but I do have the DVD. I just bought the Blu-ray to replace it. We have Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox Story. This is another parody movie with John C. Reilly, Jenna Fisher. It has tons of celebrities in it. I'm not even going to try to name them all, but John C. Reilly's the star, and Jenna Fisher plays one of his wives. And this really follows the Walk the Line story, because I watched this a couple times, and then I watched Walk the Line, and I was like, oh my gosh, there's like some shot-for-shot remake scenes in this that are in that. And I think it also kind of follows those other rockumentaries a little bit, It doesn't just follow Walk the Line. I think there's some other ones that influenced it. So when they went to make this movie, they were looking for a musician to play Dewey Cox, and John C. Reilly, I guess, was in a band, and he auditioned. So all the songs in this, he's really singing. I have the soundtrack. He's really singing all the songs on the soundtrack. It was a great performance. This is I don't think this one was marketed very well. A lot of people haven't even heard of it. They don't know anything about it. But it follows him from the time he's a teenager till his death, and all the crazy shenanigans he gets into. And I mean, there's just a lot of parody stuff. Like, he goes, obviously this is like the 50s, I think. The 50s or the 60s. He goes in and records his very first record, and when he comes out, he's already a star. Like, everybody already knows the song, which obviously in that time, that would not be possible. Even now, it wouldn't be possible. More likely, but still. And he kind of creates all these songs about his life, and he's got a band, and it's super funny. The only thing is, I don't like the director's cut as much. I'm not sure if this includes the director's cut. It doesn't say it does. The director's cut is just super long, and it doesn't add enough funny stuff into it. And it's just a really fun movie, guys. And John C. Reilly is seriously one of my favorite comedians, more modern at least comedians, maybe of all time, really. He's super funny. I think he's a great actor, and he's been in a ton of movies. Like, if you just look him up on IMDb, you'll be like, wow, I can't believe this guy's been in all these movies. You wouldn't even think of it. Jenna Fisher looking super hot. Even when they make her old, like, she just looks super hot. All right, so we're down to the top 5. Number 5, this is an old favorite of mine, Tommy Boy. When I was younger, I would watch this movie over and over. I would watch it every day at least. I've probably seen this movie, 100, 200 times. I haven't watched it in a while, though. I think I'm going to go through all these movies real soon. Probably Chris Farley's best movie. I would say it's Chris Farley's best movie. If you guys didn't know, Chris Farley and David Spade were like a team. They were in everything together. You didn't really ever see one without the other. Of course, I don't think David Spade really did anything on his own back then, but Chris Farley always brought David Spade with him. And this movie is about Tommy, which is Chris Farley. And he's kind of a simple person, a little slow. He just graduated college after 8 years, and he comes home to work at the family auto parts business. And David Spade is like his dad's assistant or whatever, and his dad, Tommy's dad, dies, and he has to save the business, and they have to go on this cross-country sales tour thing with all kinds of shenanigans ensues. It's super funny. I love it. A lot of people I know don't really know much about this movie. It also has Rob Lowe, uh, Bo Derek. Uh, it's super funny, and there's like this whole scheme going on at the same time, and they're being sabotaged, and just all kinds of good stuff happens. I love that one. All right, now one of my another more modern comedy here. At number 4, we have The 40-Year-Old Virgin. I love this movie. This is one of the few movies I ever saw multiple times in theaters. I know a lot of people comment to me that they see a movie multiple times in theaters. I really don't get that. Like, to me, it's just so expensive to keep watching it in theaters. I actually saw this one in theaters 3 times. And this one launched a ton of careers. Although Steve Carell, I believe, was already in The Office when this came out. This was from Judd Apatow, who went on to make a ton of movies. You know, has Steve Carell, Seth Rogen, Paul Rudd. Is that Elizabeth Banks? What's her name? Steve Carell, Catherine Kinnear. She went on to make stuff. Doesn't give any of their names, but a lot of people really launched their careers with this movie. It's about this guy who is 40 years old and is still a virgin, and kind of just, you know, once his friends find out, they're trying to finally get him laid, and he's just kind of doing like all these weird hobbies and stuff. Like he's got all these little figures, and he's like painting them over again. He's already painted them, playing the trombone, playing Halo, playing poker, you know, just all the things to keep himself busy since he's never with any women. And it's super funny. This movie is so hilarious. I've seen this movie so many times. It's a really great movie. On this one, the unrated version is 16 minutes longer, and I definitely like the unrated version. I don't think it adds a lot of like terribly bad raunchy humor, but it adds a little bit of extended scenes and new scenes, and I definitely like the extended version on this one. Definitely a hilarious comedy if you're old enough to watch this. Now this one might be cheating a little bit. For number 3, I put the entire Back to the Future trilogy. These movies are so great. I love them. Definitely started my love affair with Steven Spielberg. Michael J. Fox and his name is escaping me. I hate that when that happens. Christopher Lloyd, sci-fi comedy where they go back in time. Well, the confusing thing, in the first one they go back in time. So they say they have to go back to the future, but really they're going back to their present. Or Marty has to go back to the present. And then they made a second one where they go to the future. So that going to the future for the first time, right? And then the third one, they end up in the Old West. If there was any that I could ditch in this trilogy, it would be the third one. Some people really enjoy it. I mean, I think they're all good, but I think the Old West one is just weaker of the 3. And another cool thing they did is the characters are all played, other than George McFly. Crispin Glover did not get into the second and third one. From special features and stuff, they've said he wanted more money than they would give him, and then he said he didn't want to do it, which obviously stupid part on him. But they're the same people, so you see like their grandpa looks the same. You know, it's fun, and they have similar names: Biff, Griff, Marty. Seamus, I guess that's not really the same, but last names, you know, the same, and they look the same, and it's fun. Definitely a really fun movie. And another car movie too, their time machine is a DeLorean. So it's kind of got a lot into it, and it's super fun. And if you haven't even heard of these, I mean, where have you been? You know? All right, so the last 2, probably my favorite comedian of all time, I have Christmas Vacation. Chevy Chase, he was just so good, you know, back in the 80s and probably 90s. When did this one come out? 89, so like into the 90s. So funny, physical comedy. This one is the Christmas version. They had Vacation, Christmas Vacation, European Vacation, and Vegas Vacation, and I believe that's the order they were released. This one follows Clark, who's Chevy Chase there. This one also has Beverly D'Angelo, Johnny Gelke, Randy Quaid, and Julia Louis-Dreyfus was in it for a little bit. Not a lot, but she's hilarious in it. So he's trying to have this perfect Christmas with his family. All the in-laws are coming to stay with them. He's trying to set up like 10 billion twinkle lights, get all the Christmas decorations set up, get all the presents. And of course, as it is when any family gets together, everybody's fighting. Nobody gets along. They don't have enough room. It just, so many things go wrong. And it's hilarious. And their cousin Eddie shows up, and he's like this like white trash. I don't even know what you'd call him, really. This one's hilarious, though. I know everybody's seen this one. It's one of my favorites. Definitely. I watch this every year at Christmas, of course. So then my number one and two could be flipped or flopped. This one rated anyways, PG-13. This one's actually rated R. I don't know if that's just because there's a little bit of nudity in this or what. But for number one, I put Vacation. Such a fun movie. They're all on another vacation on their way to Wally World, which is a theme park in California, and they're coming from Chicago, and they're going cross country in their Wagon Queen family truckster. Just this ridiculous car that like nothing on it makes any sense. And they get lost along the way. They have to stop at Cousin Eddie's. They have to pick up their aunt. It's just hilarious. More physical comedy. I love this part where they crash in the desert, and he's gonna go get help, and he just starts going through the desert instead of going back onto the road. If you're in the middle of nowhere and you want to try to find help, the best thing to do is not go away from the road. You would never know where you were going. And then he's just later he's all sweaty, and he's like, I'm dead. It's hilarious. Oh man, I love this movie. So that's my number one pick. My top 10 movies right here, guys. Top 10. I love them. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, remember to leave it a like rating. If you haven't already, subscribe for more videos. Check out the suggested videos, and I'll see you guys next time.